the podcast, Jim. I want to go take a nap.
Well, you should have told me that before you went live.
Oh, does that mean that we have to do this now?
Well, we're kind of invested in it now, aren't we? Hold on a minute. Let me go ahead and share this.
Yay!
How shall I share it? Just say not a lot to talk about.
I don't know. Share it to all 7 of your followers and say, listen, or I'm going to be so sad that I might have to go kick a puppy.
Kick a puppy? I don't kick puppies.
Well, then clearly you don't get sad enough.
Good. What are we going to talk about then? Shane winning another tournament. Ooh.
Another bar table tournament.
On a bar table. Ooh.
It's pretty impressive stuff, isn't it?
He doesn't do that very often, does he?
Yeah, I was actually...
he had to work for it. He had the double dip in the final because he got beat by the kid that was in the final, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I guess going back and looking at the kind of video response we're going to talk about, I don't know, maybe we can start out with talking with this. We can talk about the Don afterwards. Shane's response to Fedor, kind of halfway calling him out, was his response was 10 ball. It's close. He would probably play him 9 ball. Shane does not think that he can win in banks. He hasn't thought enough about one pocket.
Yeah, he's not mentally. He needs one pocket. So I think one pocket is hard work for him because he mentioned he has to get mentally invested in it. I don't think he really enjoys getting mentally invested in one pocket. Yeah. And it becomes a bit of a grind from him. I just don't think it's his favorite game. I think he's favorite against Fedor, but whether or not he's willing to put himself into that mental state to play him in a long race, I think he's just trying to avoid that kind of grind and getting into that way of thinking. Yeah.
So he didn't really think too much about that, and he said he didn't think he could win in banks. So Shane does not think he could. Oh, sorry, I already said that. Shane said that he would rob him basically in 8 ball, which I think I agree with. So let's go through. So let's go through one by one. Let's start with I guess the 8 ball. Let's go in reverse order that I went with. 8 ball. Do you agree with Shane?
If it's on a bar box, yes. I think if it's on a bar box, he absolutely thumps him. On a 9-foot table, other than Fedor getting to the final of the World 8 ball, I've never actually really seen Fedor play much 8 ball. He will have done enough at the European Championships and stuff like that. We know that Shane's played it a lot. We know that he's good at any game really. I'd say yes. I'd go with Shane 8 ball. If it's on a bar box by a long distance, if it's on a standard 9-foot, then still favourite. Yeah.
Well, I would go so far as saying that anything on a bar table, Shane would rob Fedor.
Rob is, but I think he's massive favourite. I think Fedor avoids playing that if he's got any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that okay. We can at least agree that he's a massive favorite on a bar table. Anything. It's not that Fedor can't play on a bar table. We've just, we thought that Fedor was didn't we dub him the bar box king? And then Shane went and played him bar table 10 ball in Oklahoma. And I'm thinking Shane won 100 to like 114 or something like that. I mean, so bar box king is a hard sell when you lost by 30 something games. And before that, Sky was widely considered to be the best bar table player in the world. So it's hard to put Fedor in that category with Shane when Sky's had an open invite to have anybody play him on a bar table, and Sky never took advantage of that. Maybe he will in the future. Who knows? Let's just put that out there. I think I think Shane's going to win handily on a bar table. So we both agree, big table 8 ball. We probably give it to Shane. That is Shane's favorite game is 8 ball, and he grew up playing 8 ball. So we agree there. Banks. Shane says that he doesn't think he can win. What do you think?
I mean, he can win, but again, it's a little bit the same as the 8 ball, the other way around. Fedor's going to be favourite, and I think He can win, but yes, Fedor's favourite. But and again, I'm only saying that because we know the results that Fedor's had playing Bankpool, and Shane just doesn't really seem to play it much or really be interested in it. It's another one of those games that he can play if he needs to, but he's not going to go out of his way to play it, So yeah, I give that one to Fedor. If Shane thinks Fedor beats him, then I can't really argue with that. There's not going to be many times that Shane's going to turn around and say, I can't win this match. It doesn't matter who's playing him. Yeah. And if he says that, then he probably knows himself that he's a big underdog.
The banks. So I don't actually remember anybody matching up for a big long set of banks before.
Yeah, but people have. I mean, Billy's and those guys have played banks for like 12, 13 hours, but it's never been on a stream and properly produced and been put out there for the people.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this and I'm trying to think about what this would even look like, and I don't exactly know what it would even look like. I kind of go with Shane on that one. If Shane thinks he can't win, usually he can't. He's pretty smart about those types of things. He's a really good handicapper, knows what he can do, knows what other people can do, gauges it pretty well. And Fedor's had a lot of big success in banks. I think he's placed top 3, I think, at banks at Derby City, including a win in the last 3 years. So, what do I know? I think Fedor seems to win and there's that's the only bank tournament that I can think of besides I don't want to call them Derby City wannabes, but that's kind of what they tend to be. They take Derby City and they knock off the format and then make it their own. Yeah. That's really the only bank tournament I can think of across the country is Derby City. That's of consequence.
Exactly. And I mean, this is going to be a match that it should draw in a large audience, and they're going to have the stream. They're going to be selling the stream, stuff like that. They're going to want to get as big an audience as they can. And they're still going to get an audience because it's those two guys playing each other, but they won't get the same audience if they play banks as they would if they play one of the main 3, say.
Especially if it's PPV.
Exactly. Especially pay-per-view. You're not going to get the same audience playing banks as you would playing 10 ball or 9 ball or even 8 ball. Yeah.
Okay, so move on to One Pocket. This is actually, honestly, this would be what I would be most interested in actually watching, I think, between these two, because I think it's what they're closest. I think I give Shane the edge on it because he does have a little bit of that knowledge that Fedor talks about Alex having that he doesn't have, and that's why it's so hard for him to envision playing against Alex. Shane has a lot more of that than he gives himself credit for. I think mostly with Shane, it's the mentality of actually getting into that one pocket mode that, like you said earlier, he just doesn't really want to do it. It doesn't seem to be a game that interests him. It's certainly not something he wants to mentally engage in. You think he'd rather mentally engage with catching some Lakers than he would one pocket. So, but I think it's probably the closest game of all of these. What do you think?
I think if Shane does put himself into that mental box and really does, put the effort into and gets motivated to actually play one pocket, then I think he's a comfortable favourite. But he won't. I don't see it happening. I don't agree that that's the closest game. If Shane really turns up to play one pocket, then I don't agree it's the closest game. I think 10 ball's probably the closest game. But I would. Fedor's playing more one pocket. He's in the groove. He's learning all the time. Shane doesn't really have anything left to learn. He just needs to get himself in the right frame of mind. I don't see it being one pocket. I really don't. I think Shane will manage to talk Fedor out of one pocket, not because he thinks he would lose it, because he just doesn't want to put the effort in to actually play a long set of one pocket. Yeah.
So we'll move on to 9 ball next. This is what Shane ultimately said that he would probably want to play Fedor in. I'm more interested in his reasoning for that because he thinks he has the best chance, or if he thinks that is kind of the future of pool right now, and the 10 ball doesn't. I mean, when was the last time that Shane played a game of 10 ball that actually had meaning? Probably the World 10 ball. I mean, don't give me that bar table 10 ball or anything like that is going to be of actual consequence. Stop it. So all these like little 10 ball bar table events across the country, that means nothing to him. He's chasing a paycheck for those things. He can't possibly care about any of those things. the World 10 ball might be the only event during the year that he actually hits 10 ball at now and has it actually mean something.
I think you're right. I think that the fact that the 9 ball is the way things are moving at the moment. That's where the majority of the events will be that you're going to see Shane battling in. There are majors. There's Moscone Cup coming up. I don't know when they would be planning on doing it, but you've got US Open coming up. You have there's the Asian Open, which he's going to. He'll want to stay in Greece at 9 ball, and if they do play 9 ball, then I'm pretty guaranteed that it's going to be 9 ball match and break rules, and that'll be good for both players, to play a set like that. Who's favourite? Not really seen too much of Fedor, playing that. I mean, he did okay at the couple of matchroom tournaments he played, but didn't really, he should have beaten Filler, and then you never know what happens from there, at the last event. The kid can play any game you want. Is Shane favourite there? Shane seems to think that, but I think Shane thinks that that's his best chance of winning. I don't think Fedor ducks away from that match. That's the one. That's what I think it will personally be, because I think it suits both of them. It's win or lose, they're going to both gain something from it as far as going forward into the rest of the year. Is Shane favourite?
I don't think so.
I think it's coin flip. Yeah.
I think a long set, Fedor's played enough of them to know that stamina is not going to be an issue with it. Shane's played enough of it to know that the same thing. So where are they at with their careers right now? Well, I don't think that anybody doesn't think that Shane is, at least if he's not on the downswing, he is very, very rapidly nearing it. And I think the same people would also say that we probably have not seen the peak of Fedor yet. I think that Fedor is, maybe he peaks, he's 23 now? Does that sound right? 23, 24?
Fedor?
Yeah.
Yeah, right about that, yeah.
The European pros, they seem to be spiking right around 27 to 31. Seems to be when most of these players are hitting their peak. And then, honestly, they haven't. There are very few players that have maintained a high level past, let's say, 32. Can you think of any European pros past 32 that are still playing at, not only playing at an elite level, but actually like performing at the end of the tournaments? I'm thinking Albin, I'm thinking Jason. And since Albin turned 31, I think he's 31 now, 31 or 32.
Alcaida just won that tournament. They just won the European.
He's 44, man. I had no idea he was that old. I thought he was in like his
late 30s. I mean, Neil still goes deep in a lot of tournaments, But there's such a crop of young players that have come through in the last less than 10 years, kind of thing, 6 years. It's just incredibly difficult for all of them,
Most seem to be still getting better.
Well, yeah, but what you have at that age is they're playing at the start of their career. They play without fear, They don't have the battle scars yet, and that's very difficult to play against. When you get somebody there that's still playing the game because they enjoy the game, and it's just they're just loving being out there, and they're loving battling against these guys. And already the guys of the generation above the 31s, that Jason's getting into that situation now as well. Albin, they've all got a target on their back. These are the guys that the young kids are coming through, and they want to aspire to be like and to beat and stuff like that. And it's just every generation that comes through just seems to be getting better and better now. Who's going to be? How do you top players like Phil or Kachi, Sanchez Ruiz, Fedor? There's going to be another generation that come through that are going to end up being better than them. Can you imagine how good they would have to be in order to be better than these guys? Where does the bar top out?
Well, every player that you just named, barring, I guess, except Kachi at this point, because we assume that he's going to be back in form where he left off. But it looked like a pretty serious accident. We don't know that he's going to have everything back. How much scar tissue is he going to end up having in that shoulder? in that arm. I mean, is it going to work the way it did before? We'll find out with him. We're hoping it does, of course, because he's a great competitor and he brings, a fierce competitiveness to the game. But all the players that you named, they're still year over year getting better, and it's scary to say. Well, you're saying the next generation. We don't even know how good these guys are going to be yet.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's why it kind of goes back to my original point where like Fedor is still getting better month over month, year over year. Shane is coasted for a long time. I don't think that you're going to find anybody that says he's better now than he was 10 years ago, but he's maintained pretty close to the same exact level. And it kind of, with Shane, it seems to be how engaged is he going to be that month leading up to whatever he's, playing in. But he still maintains an incredibly world-class, one of the best ever levels. So is Shane and Fedor playing? Is that going to bring out enough desire from Shane to actually put the time in to get ready for that match? You would have to assume that he would. Maybe if it's right after the U.S. Open or right before the U.S. Open or another major tournament coming up, he would, he'd be getting ready just by default for that other tournament. But I think it takes a fully engaged 100% in-stroke game from Shane to be able to compete with Fedor, because that Fedor is going to be there at this point in his career.
I think Shane's still got a hell of a lot of pride, and he knows he gets these matches. The reason he gets these matches is because he is the guy that people want to beat. He is the bar is measured by Shane Van Boening. It still is. It still is. You can talk about the Fillers, Fedors, Albans, Jason. Shane is still considered to be the greatest of the current generation, and he still is.
Not only for peak but for longevity. I mean, he's been at the top. He's been a top 5 player in the world for 20 years.
You have to. He never calls anybody out. The top guy never calls people out in any sport. When did Shane ever call somebody out?
I think he called Jason out at one point, but that was personal. I think he called out
for personal reasons, maybe. But
yeah, that was personal.
In order to prove yourself as being the best, if you already consider yourself to be the best and your peers consider it to be the best, you're never calling anybody out, are you? It's only you. It's you getting called out all the time, and it's Shane that gets called out all the time. He never calls anyone else out because he is the top dog. He is the top guy, and you can argue with certain formats and certain tournaments that over the last years he's not been the top guy. But if you're talking about long races to 120, 150, he has been and still is the guy that people measure the bar at, is Shane Van Boening. He's played so many of these sets. He very rarely loses. It'll be winner breaks format. And he's the guy that'll be running 10, 11 racks, and when he gets into stroke and he always does at some stage over a 3-day event, he gets into stroke for about 2 or 3 hours and he just blasts whoever it is he's playing off the table and then puts himself in a position where he can't lose anymore, But Fedor can do that as well. But Fedor can do it. Shane has done it many, 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 many times. Any sport, the top guy never calls anybody else out. So Fedor's calling Shane out because he knows that he's chasing Shane. He knows that everybody's chasing Shane. They have been for years, And somebody will go over somebody will pass him. That's just the way it works. That's evolution. Somebody will pass him, and somebody will be considered as better. But right at this moment, if you want to talk about your where you're standing in like long race challenge matches, big money challenge matches, Shane's still number one, Doesn't matter what the game is.
Yeah. So I think if Shane comes in perfectly ready to go, dialed in, focused, gives Fedor his best game, I still think he is. I don't want to go 60-40 because I don't think he's a 60-40 dog, but I also think he's a little 57-43.
You had to calculate that, didn't you? 57 open. That's
yes, more than I want to admit.
I was going to say I think 9-ball. I think Shane's favourite. I think that'll be the
Shane's
match.
a favorite.
Yeah, I think that'll be the match he wants to play.
Well, I think because I think Fedor's still a favorite, so I think we could do a friendly little podcast wager. What do you think?
Ooh, well, let's see what they announce
Two
first.
rounds at the Moscone.
Well, yeah, on VIP day probably. Yeah.
Well, depends if I lose or not. I did get that, Aaron. I'll periodically take a look at that while we're basically when Jim's talking. I don't really listen to him when he talks anyway, so I will take a look at what you sent me as we're going on through the podcast. But I guess I mean, now we've kind of broken down each one individually. Do you actually think it's going to happen?
We've not talked about 10-ball yet.
Well, I said 10-ball first, and that I kind of said it. It's I don't think that they'll ever play just because there's no event that Shane plays periodically throughout the year.
But who wins it then? Who wins if they play 10-ball?
Oh, well, I mean, the one thing so Shane has always been an elite ball striker. I mean, he's always potted balls incredibly proficiently. But the reason why Shane was so dominant at 10-ball for so long is, of course, his break. Fedor's break is behind Shane's, I think, still, but it's not enough of a gap, I don't think, to be able to make up for the striking advantage that Fedor has over Shane. So I think probably the same thing, maybe 57-43 in favor of Fedor, but I think that was probably a little bit closer to Shane. And that one could have a lot bigger range for which the score can go. I could see Shane beating Fedor in 10-ball in a race to 100 by 10 games pretty easily. I could also see Fedor beating Shane by 15 games, something like that, because Shane's break is as elite as it gets, and if it's clicking and he's making both those wing balls and one of the 4-railers. He's looking at playing 7-ball, and he controls the 1-ball so well off his break. I mean, if he's playing 7-ball with a shot on the 1-ball, I don't care how good of a player you think you are. You just can't compete against stuff like that.
Not winner breaks. That's what he does,
No, yeah, it's. I think at this point in time, we're past the idea of hand racking. I don't think that that's ever going to be a thing again. Hopefully, I mean, we're almost past the age of these gambling matches at all, right? I mean, how often were we seeing these things? We're only seeing them maybe like during COVID, we were seeing a good one per month on average. Now we're seeing.
But I'm kind of happy about that. It should. I mean,
one or two.
We talked about it when they were happening basically every week.
And I should say, removing one pocket. If you remove one pocket.
Yeah, they're nice when they happen just once in a while. It has to be something that's considered to be a big deal. Because
there's got to be a reason.
They're not that much fun to watch, to be honest. I mean, day one, you're basically, I don't know, they are a bit long-winded. They're interested. You get those moments, like I said, where the players they've been playing long enough that they get really into stroke, and then you see some absolute monster hour or 2 hours of pool, which is great to see. And you get to see exactly how good these guys are. But I personally, I just find it all just a bit too long,
The day two is always a
struggle. They're interesting to see the results. They're amazing if it gets really, really close and it gets, you're down to race to 120 and you're 115. Then the excitement level is off the rails, But
I've never in my life watched something more entertaining than when Shane Van Boning was leading Dennis Okoye 114-97 in their 10-ball match. I think it was 10-ball. Maybe it was 9-ball. 9-ball. It must be 9-ball because there's no way that Dennis would have played him 10-ball. I'm blanking on it. It was probably like 4 or 5 years ago now. But yeah, and then Dennis comes back and wins that match. I mean, there was nothing in pool that I've ever watched in my entire life that was more entertaining than that. Yeah. Besides all the VG events, every single second of those.
Every single second. But the commentary made that.
Yeah, mostly, yeah. So, but
besides
that,
you don't get that kind of quality at money matches.
No, definitely not. Except for our money match that we did there.
That's ours.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, they have the potential to be incredibly entertaining. But when was the last big non-one pocket matchup between two players that was done all up nice and shiny? Like, I mean, Roy's Basement hasn't done anything for a while.
No.
I guess it was the last Omega. Was that Jason and Dennis? Somebody in the comments help us out. When was the last big matchup that wasn't one pocket? That was one of these big money matches. I think it might have been Jason and Dennis, and that was over a year ago at this point.
No, it was about a year ago because he wanted to get in Greece for the Mosconi Cup.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was about a year ago then. So we went from probably about 12 to 15 of them a year to 0. I mean, Pool Action TV hasn't done one for, I don't even remember. I don't remember the last one that they did. And it was probably one pocket. It's probably one of the Chip and Tony matches or something like that. But I mean, they definitely have a purpose, and I enjoyed watching them. It is really fun, cracking a bottle of wine on a Friday night and just sitting down and watching pool for 6 hours. I mean, that's awesome. I very much enjoyed those. Saturdays, I'm not gonna lie, I barely ever saw a Saturday. I just don't want to spend my Saturday night. Yeah, I'd rather spend my Saturday night actually playing than watching it. But then Sundays, crack another bottle of wine, watch them on Sundays. They were nice. So I guess this whole like Facebook stuff, it's kind of interesting, and it's good content, and it kind of keeps people engaged and kind of wondering what it could be. I don't see it ever happening. This is a lot to me like Shane and Joshua Filler like 2-3 years ago now, I guess, after all the Mosconi Cup drama of don't stand in the king's chair stuff. I guess that was Jason, but I think it was that same year that everybody was just basically yeah, I guess the Shark Stream model. Yeah, that is actually Sharks does it all the time, but I just can't deal with those hours, the time change, and then I guess I don't know. I just don't get into those as much as I probably should. But yeah, I guess Sharks has them all the time. I completely forgot about that. But I just don't see this ever happening, ever. What do you think?
What do you not see ever happening?
Shane and Fedor.
You don't see it happening?
No.
Oh, I see. I think they play 9-ball.
You think so?
Yeah.
I just don't see how it would ever happen. Personally, I just don't.
I don't see why they wouldn't play. I mean, I'm pretty sure both of them have got backers that'll just throw their money into it quite happily. And
wasn't it the same with the Filler situation though, with Jason or Shane and Filler? That never happened. Now, Fedor has significantly more gamble than Filler, though. So, that's a real thing.
And Fedor's at home in the States. Filler would have to come over the States, or Shane would have to go over to Europe. I'm quite sure there was talk about, you come here. If you want to play me, you come here. No bollocks, you can play me here, blah, blah, blah. Filler's not really into all that kind of stuff. He's not really into the gambling. He's a tournament player. He just wants to win titles. He wants titles is what Filler wants.
That's true.
He's not somebody that he wants to prove himself in tournaments and not prove himself in a money match. He's not interested in that, I don't think. If he was interested in that, we'd have seen him at some stage playing a big set after a US Open or something like that. You'd have already seen it. He hasn't played anybody. Just because he didn't play Shane is nothing to do with Shane. I just don't think he's interested in playing these matches. Simple as that. Fedor is. Yeah. And he's in the States,
Another reason why I just don't see how it happens. I mean, are they going to do like an exhibition match before a tournament? They both arrive to, I don't know, some tournament, and the night before they're both free and they want to do a race at 25 or something for the fans. Something QTech sponsored.
I mean, that's one consideration. I mean, there's so many tournaments going on. Where do you find the time to schedule these matches?
Especially when Shane's not playing, he wants to be on the lake.
Yeah, that's one consideration. I guess it's just not as easy to schedule these matches as it was during the COVID time and stuff like that, and with all the tournaments that are going on. But again, two guys living in the same country, they'll figure out a week somewhere that they can do it, a weekend. And
how fantastic would it be if with Matchroom, Emily, she made a little hint earlier about. And actually, yeah, like right as I'm saying this, John's bringing this in. Emily did tease it a couple months ago that she was trying to get a one-on-one happening. I don't think that that'll ever happen as like a real gamble, because I don't think that Emily's going to touch that with a 10-foot pole and what that actually entails. But with QTech sponsoring all of Matchroom's events at this point, why wouldn't Q-Tech throw a couple, a Shane and Fedor up and have them play, or Sky and Shane or something like that? I mean, I don't think that those two would ever play unless it's just some exhibition thing, but some Q-Tech promotion. Yeah, Q-Tech promotional. What you think Emily's going to do a bar table match? It's if this is done, it's going to be on a 9-foot Rasan. It's a single table event.
Yeah, Emily going to Shane and Sky and say, right, I want you two to match up live on Sky Sports Matchroom Challenge match. Sky against Shane. They turn and say, okay, we're playing bar table 8-ball.
Yeah. So it'll be on a diamond 9-footer. If it's a multi-table event, it'll be on a diamond Rasan or a 9-foot Rasan if it's a single table event. But why not? Q-Tech throws up 2 players and call it the Q-Tech Cup. I don't know, something silly like that before the U.S. Open or after the U.S. Open or something like that. Maybe that'd be interesting. But
I mean, they've got enough players. They could do. You throw Melling in there. They could have like an 8-player event or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
whatever. Yeah. Why not? With that being said, unless it's like some sort of exhibition match like that, I can't imagine a situation where Shane and Fedor ever play. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it.
I don't know. I think there's a match there to be had. I don't see. I mean, I think Shane will be quite picky. I don't think he really cares that much about playing Fedor as far as I want to play Fedor. But if the money's right and the situation is right and he gets what he wants and he's turn around and say, okay, I want to play here, I want 9-ball, I want to play Matchroom rules, I want 4-inch pockets, and he gets all that from Fedor, then he'll go and play it. If Fedor says, no, I want to play you 1 pocket, Shane just say, no. Okay, it's finished. The thing's dead in the water. Sure. Yeah.
Yep. Sure. No, makes sense to me. So then
that's the way it should be. That's if you're the top dog and people are chasing you.
Sure.
That's the respect you get, and that's the benefit you get. You say, okay, you want a shot at me? I'll give you a shot at me, but we do it under what I want, because I've earned the right to pick and choose who and how I play people.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to move on from that? Talk about the Don Weir Memorial. Speaking of bar table.
And Shane.
Shane. He does lose the finals of the A side though. Comes back to and completes a double dip. Loses 7-4, then wins 7-2, 7-3. I mean, I guess it's. I struggle to get excited for bar table events anymore. I think Matchroom is having the desired effect on a lot of people, and they look at bar table as like a.
I think. With that being said, I think Shane's the same, and it goes back to what you said earlier on. It's just a paycheck for him, and he'll go there and play it because it's basically guaranteed money for him. Yeah.
It's. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of is what it is. It's an interesting event. I mean, I'm never going to turn down pool content. It's good in that sense, but the bar table events are, and this is coming from somebody who only plays bar table. Well, except
I mean, by all accounts, from what I've heard and what I've seen on Facebook, it was a massively enjoyable and successful tournament. So that's part as well. We can talk here as pool purists and say that it's bar table 8-ball, blah blah blah. But if the pool room's full and it's full of players and also people watching, fans and stuff like that, it's got a great atmosphere and everyone's having a good time and there's a bit of money in it and people are earning money, then for me it's a success and it has a place within the sport.
Absolutely.
Why not? So I mean, I don't. We shouldn't bash it because it's bar table 8-ball. It was a massively enjoyable and successful event by all accounts from what I've heard. So congratulations to the people that put it on. And. Okay,
and props to people like Mike Pinozzo and Melina Mike that went over there and documented it.
Exactly. They put it out there and they put it on Facebook. They gave us all a chance to see what was going on there. And that's what we need. That's what these tournaments need as well. They need to be promoted. They need people to see that, it's not just some scummy little tournament in the back ass of nowhere, that it's actually, a full house of people enjoying these matches. Doesn't matter what table is played on,
Absolutely. So, I guess Shane Van Bonen gets first place. going to the whole thing. Spencer Ladden gets second place. Congratulations to him for beating Shane for the hot seat. It's a pretty impressive feat there.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Taranago gets third. Rob Saez, friend of the pod, and was on the original VG event, or I guess what do we call that?
That was the Moscone style original VG. Right. Rob got in there and he joined in Team USA. Yeah.
Yep. And then Don Louie and Daniel Sardasolo. I don't know. Got that wrong, I'm sure. There's a lot of good players that were in this tournament that didn't place that high. So, I consider that the bar table effect. It's a bit of an equalizer for a lot of these top pros. Having to play the amateurs on the bar table, it's a lot easier to get hot for a short stretch on a bar table than it is a big table. Not saying that they can't play normally, but when you have a tournament where Chris Reinhold gets 7th, 8th, which isn't a terrible event for him, but some of the players I'm seeing in here, Oscar Dominguez didn't make the top top 8. John Mora didn't make the top 8. Corey Deuel didn't make the top 8. There's a lot of players in here that are really good players for a long time that didn't make the top 8. Margaret Steyer is in there. Blake Baker's in there. Tyler Steyer's in there. A lot of players in there. I chalk that up to bar table mostly, but
and 8-ball.
It's kind of fun.
And 8-ball. Yep. Everybody can run a rack of 8-ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Every pool player can run a rack of 8-ball.
That's rude.
See what I did there? Clever.
I did see what you did there. Yep, I saw what you did there. So, I guess with that being said, I don't know. I guess we can mention the Jack and Jill, which I think these tournaments have to have more Jack and Jill tournaments. And I was going to say it was 9-ball, not 8-ball.
Was it 9-ball? Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking it was, but
it was 9-ball.
You said it with such confidence. I'm like, wait, am I wrong? Yeah, because I remember. Yeah, it was definitely a 9-ball tournament, which makes it even sillier, I think, to me. Bar table 9-ball.
Were they playing one on the spot with a magic rack?
I don't know about the magic rack because I didn't. No, I think it was hand rack. It was hand rack, but the one on the spot, yeah. You can't do magic rack on a bar table 9-ball.
You can't play 9-ball on a bar table. Come on, Jesus. Anyway, wood rack. Wood rack it was, okay. Did Shane get to rack his own?
Yeah.
Check. How did he get beat?
Check for gaps. Check for gaps.
How did he get beat in the hot seat? If he's playing one on the spot, rack your own.
Are you trying to insinuate something, Jim? What are you trying to say? Use your words. Don't go silent on us now.
It's a secret. Nobody knows. It's a secret. Nobody knows.
I think the Jack and Jill thing, I think that's got to have more tournaments like this. Those are just a marketer's dream. I mean, how much fun are they to see?
Yeah, exactly.
They're fun, yeah.
I think the players enjoy themselves a lot more playing those as well, And
I think so, yeah.
It's for the public. There's more interaction. There's more fun and games and stuff like that. It's not quite as serious. And
unfortunately, you'll never get them on a wide scale unless you start making events that women actually want to go to.
It's true, but if you make it on a wide scale, then it starts to become real competitive, And then you don't have Sky playing with. Was it Savannah he played with?
Well, he still might play with her anyways. I mean,
yeah, but no. I mean, if somebody turns around and says we're doing a Jack and Jill tournament and first prize is 10,000, he's picking one of the top pros. He's going to Kelly or he's going to Alison Fisher or he's going. They're not going to play with it. With all due respect to Savannah, they're not going to pick a 15-year-old or 16-year-old or whatever. They're going to pick a
12-year-old. She's a 12-year-old.
Well, 12. They're not going to pick a 12-year-old to play in a tournament where the prize is 10, 20 grand. They're going to go for one of the top female.
Well, yeah, pros. but those female pros are never going to go there if they have to play in the open event. That's what I'm saying. Unless there's a credible,
unless it's a female event,
a major incredible female event alongside of this.
Exactly. But that's what's good, this tournament here. Then you got Sky's. He's pairing up with a 12-year-old and playing and winning. And everyone else is, they're picking their partners for fun, and that's just really nice to see. I would have liked to have seen some of that tournament being live streamed, but yeah, very
all
good. All that kind of thing, all of it. Yeah, no, really,
Or honestly, how fun would it be to do one of these? Maybe not a Jack and Jill, but a Scotch doubles tournament where the pros play with a junior player. So maybe it's not. It is Savannah Easton at that point, but it's also Sophia Moss. It's also Sam Henderson. It's also Joey Tate. It's how cool would it be to maybe not a Jack and Jill per se, but maybe there's a Jack and Jill and a pro youth. This type of format is just really fun for everybody. It's fun for the crowd. It's fun for the viewers. It's fun for the players. It's never going
to be a standalone tournament. It has to be alongside another big tournament.
Of course.
Because you can't. Because as soon as you start putting money on it, then people get more competitive and they start, being more selective about who they want to play with. And if they see another team in there, if Shane all of a sudden if Shane teams up with Sam Henderson, and it's a pro and a kid, then people say, well, I'm not playing anymore because look at that team there.
Yeah, maybe. Although that wouldn't be that good of a team. Sam would choke like a dog.
Wow.
Oh, he would. Oh, you can. Oh, I don't even care. You can say. I hope that
Sam, you listen to this. This is a guy that said he's supporting you.
Look, Nate Kennis often listens to this podcast. He would absolutely back up what I'm saying. He would be shaking so hard. He gets in the presence of Shane Van Boning, and he's like
starstruck.
I'm not even kidding. Yeah, I hope that this is one of the podcasts that Nate Kennis is actually listening to. Because I'm telling you, when Sam gets close to Shane, I mean, it is. To put him on the same team, maybe, but I suspect he would be way too busy shaking like a leaf to be able to do anything.
He'd be asking him for an autograph while he's down on his shot. Well, Shane, just before you play this, can I have your autograph?
I mean, he is actually. I mean, Shane is a hero to Sam, so yeah.
I think Shane's a hero to a lot of young players.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I mean that'd be a fun event. Anything else we want to say about that? The tournament, the Don Weir Memorial.
I've heard it's a very successful tournament. No surprise of the winner. Some surprises of guys who didn't go deep, I guess. Yeah, very good.
Okay, I don't know. Do you want to tackle this suggestion that Aaron Lake put out there?
Yeah, essentially from what Singapore players being banned from a tournament. I mean, I haven't really heard anything about this, so I'd be very difficult.
Yes, so more or less, it looks like the Singaporean players signed up for the. I want to get the actual names right for the tournament. The English Billiards Championship. Oh, well. Here, I'll just read the post. We wish to point out we are here in Taipei because all of our tickets and hotel rooms were booked before the announcement of the ban and cannot be uncanceled. We are a group of 18 Singapore players who are registered for the Formosa Cup 2023, organized at CTBF and sanctioned by the ACBS from August 28th to September 2nd. Essentially, it sounds like they all signed up, booked their hotels, booked their flights, booked their travel arrangements, and then they were all banned. And according to this post, they were banned because of Singapore hosting the World English Billiards Championship, and has nothing to do with pool. So essentially, what it sounds like is the WPA, according to this post, the WPA is getting bitter about some other organization running stuff, and they are retaliating by banning the host country's players at a future WPA event. Again, it's all hearsay, I guess. We're both coming. I mean, I saw something about this before. I never looked into it. I mean, I kind of skip a lot of these types of stories with the WPA because it does seem that they are, if not bitter, unfairly retaliatorial about some of the decisions that are being made and leaving them behind in doing so. I have never been a WPA
fanboy. If you've been listening to the podcast from the beginning, I've had choice words to say about the WPA for a long time. To me, it's an over-bureaucratic system of a dinosaur pool scene that it refuses to update or refuses to do anything as far as common sense, because bureaucracy doesn't allow them, and therefore they just end up bogging down a lot of different decisions that they have to make, and then get mad when nobody wants to work at their pace. And if there's one thing that Matchroom does not do, it is work off of the pace of a different organizer. And as they're pushing the industry forward, there seems to be a lot more other organizers out there that are working off of the same model. With that being said, the WPA does not have a voice in this. All of these things are hearsay. I don't know anything about it, but it just seems to be another one of the situations where something happened that the WPA didn't like, and this is where we're at because of it. But it's hard to have a real factual opinion. I'm just going basically off of things that I've seen in the past that I do know more about.
I mean, it seems to be an ongoing kind of topic, the WPA, and with the relation to the idea of stopping players and banning players from certain tournaments. If you play here, if you do this, you're banned and stuff like that. Whether or not these things are actually true, whether or not it is the WPA that just turn around and say, you know, they sit in a meeting with their group and turn around and say, right, we're picking these tournaments. If anyone plays these tournaments, they're not allowed to play in our tournaments. Boom, that's it. Fine, cool. Let's punish them. You know, I don't actually know if that's the case or not. It seems to pop up quite regularly. The idea of this is the only solution there is to start banning players and threatening players with bans, and to try and convince them that they have to be on our side and not somebody else's side. Like you said, hearsay, don't know how much truth's in it. I haven't read the statement. I really don't know. Again, I mean, banning players for decisions that somebody else within their country made. I mean,
it's pretty nuts.
Again, it's a bit, you know, it's, if it is a retaliation for something else, and you're hurting the wrong people. Really, it's not. These are not the people that did it to you. You know, they're not the people that you're angry with. But you're gonna, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't actually know if this is a WPB or a WPA decision. Is this an ACBS decision? Is this an ACS decision based off of a WPA ruling? You'd almost have to have on both sides to be able to actually, you know, talk about these things. And I don't know how much the WPA is willing to talk about these things. They have gone on Windows Open in the past and discussed things. Again, it just seems to me like there are who is in charge of Matchroom? Everybody knows, right? It's Emily Frazier. She makes the calls. She makes the decisions. There is no question. The WPA, I mean, it's got a board, right? So every decision that's got to go through is
you have to make sure you're distinguishing between the two. Correct. The WPA, if you're going to liken them to something within the Matchroom thing, is the WNP, WP, blah blah blah. See, it's not Emily. Emily is in charge of the production of the Matchroom events, but the WPA for Matchroom, the World Professional 9-Ball Corporation, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's not run by Emily. That's not Emily that's in charge of that, you know.
But let's be clear. That gives Emily the leeway that she needs to make the decision she needs to make. Within reason, right? I mean, she can't go out and buy a private island.
No, but Matchroom, the tournament, the World 9-Ball Tour, let's say, you can't relate that to the WPA. The World 9-Ball Tour is what is sanctioned by formerly the WPA and now by something else. So the entities that you want to compare to each other are the WPA and the WP.
which we know nothing about because it
Which
just
I don't even know the name of anymore. It's too long. But we don't really know much about it. But it is a group of people. Emily is involved in it.
Yeah,
people from the darts and boxing.
I see what you're saying, and that is probably fair to make if you're going to get the levels right. Get the levels. My broad point is Emily gets things done, and the WPA does not. They sit on things for. I mean, if you want a decision out of the WPA. And I've heard this from a lot of organizers who have tried to work with the WPA in the past to get their stuff WPA sanctioned, and it is like working with a snail. I mean, it just does not get done quickly. Everything takes time, and I understand that, but we're not talking about like a few days. We're talking about like weeks, sometimes months, to get small decisions done. Things that could be done over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 emails. Will take weeks, if not months. It just doesn't seem like everybody else is going to want to work at that pace for long. So the WPA is going to have to either, I guess, get better about maybe consolidate their power within, for most decisions in one, maybe two people, or a smaller board, or I just don't see where the WPA stands in this as is. I don't see how they are going to have these types of decisions going forward. And I'm not talking about like next week. I'm talking about like 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. I just don't see where that type of bureaucracy is going to be even possible.
They're not. Well, they're not going to have anything to do with 9-ball. It's they're still going to be the sanctioning body for everything else. There's nobody else is in a position to do what Matchroom have done. There's nobody in a position. Predator's not in a position to say, you know what, we're now going to take 10-ball and do what Matchroom has done. Predator's not in the position to do that.
Not currently. Yeah.
No. So I mean, it'll be what it'll be. The WPA have. I'm kind of on you. I don't really see what they've done much, or it hasn't been put out in the open and made transparent, all the things that they do and the work that they do. Maybe there is lots of work behind the scenes, but we don't know what it is, right? We don't get to see it. We don't feel it as something that's grown and has improved the game. Maybe it has in the background, but I don't know. You never really feel it. We don't feel it as players and fans. Whereas what Matchroom is doing, you do feel it. You felt it immediately, and it's just growing and growing and growing, and it's the snowball is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's something the WPA never ever managed to create. So,
do you think there ever becomes a time where these federations that work through the WPA decide to either one by one or as an entire group just switch over to working with Matchroom exclusively? Do you think there's ever a situation where that'll happen?
If you do that, then every other game dies, because Matchroom will just say, okay, well, it's 9-ball. Does that not does that not mean the death of every other game as a professional sport?
I don't know. I don't know what the agreements would look like. I mean, the federations are the ones that put on all of these different events, right? So as long as the federations theoretically are still putting on these events.
No, but if the federation was to be sanctioned by the Matchroom entity, then they're only going to sanction 9-ball tournaments.
Maybe Matchroom says, all right, well, we understand that 9-ball is what we focus on, but we understand that there are more games out there. We'll work on
Never
you. You don't think so?
Never happened. They're 9-ball. That's all they are. They're 9-ball, and that's it.
No, I understand that.
I don't think they'll go bigger. They want to push 9-ball. They want to promote 9-ball. They're not going to waste any of their time, their resources, their energy on anything other than 9-ball.
You might be right. I don't know. But I mean, that still doesn't change the fact that it might happen. I mean, what's the alternative? If I'm thinking of this from like a federation standpoint, if we continue going on the way that we are, 5 years time from now, maybe there is an entire tour of 52 events across the world that are part of the 9-ball tour. Is that going to be a big shock? I think there's already like 30 something, right? I mean, Is it really a huge surprise to come up with 20 more? We look across the industry, maybe Predator's still doing their thing and maybe they're still having massive success with 10 ball. Maybe they look at it and say, all right, well, 8 ball doesn't really exist at the professional level. And what it does exist at the professional level is incorporated with what Predator's doing with their tour, because they obviously have the rights to the World 8 ball at this point. Maybe we just find a way to work with Matchroom on the 9 ball stuff and we work with Predator on the rest of the games.
Don't know. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. I mean, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if some sort of, the WPA and Matchroom, they sit around the table again and have another conversation and maybe be a little bit more lenient with each other in order to I don't know, or certainly the WPA maybe turn around and say, listen, please don't shut us out completely. Because I think, Aaron Lake said here he thinks that the English billiards bond under the WPA and the previous Asian body went against WPA and it didn't end well for them.
Well, it's hard to say that with Matchroom, but they're going against them just well.
with all respect to those guys, they're not Matchroom,
and they've never had somebody that they could turn to. You can't tell me right now. You can't tell me right now that if this organization decided to go against WPA again and then went to Matchroom and said, "Hey, will you back us up on this?" That they wouldn't jump at the opportunity to consolidate more power away from the WPA at this point with how much animosity there is between them.
I don't think that. I think historically,
Matchroom is trying to get so many partners from anywhere.
Historically, Matchroom, they've just turned around and said, they did it with the darts. It sort of says, you're with me or you're not with me. If you're not with me, I'm leaving you behind. It's not that I don't need you. Sure. I'll take you with me if you want. But if you decide not to, it's fine. I'll leave you behind. And when they leave you behind, you're gone. That's it. They don't need support from anybody else. They don't need to be bringing in English 8 ball or English billiards or other things. They just say, look, I'm doing 9 ball and that's what I'm doing. I don't care what the rest of you do. I don't give a shit. I'm doing 9 ball and that's it. The rest of you, go do your own thing. WPA, fine, you've got the rest of them. You can have 10 ball, 8 ball, whatever you want. I'm taking 9 ball. You can't do anything about it. And I'm running with it. And you're going to be wishing you'd come with me. But you've decided not to. Fine, I don't need you. I'm offering you a chance, but you're not taking it. Fine. See you later. I'm gone. And that's the way it works. And that's the way it's going to work. And there's nothing. The WPA are out. They've been cut out of the picture. They can't do anything about it. It's gone. They can fight against it all they want. I think they know as well they can't do anything about it because they couldn't do anything about it in darts. They couldn't do anything about it in boxing. They couldn't do anything about it. They just do it. And it's like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like or lump it,
Yeah,
And what's wrong with having different sanctioning bodies? I mean, boxing's got like 6,
Yeah, I mean, what they have like 4 different belts now at this point, something like that. 3 major ones, and
it's been like that ever since I've ever known boxing. And that's just one sport. It's the same thing. They get in the ring, the same size ring for the same amount of time, beating each other up with the same gloves. Nothing's different. And they all get a different belt for it. At least in pool, if you have 10 ball, 8 ball straight pool, at least you've got 4 different games that are getting played where you can have 4 world champions. In boxing, it's just a case of, we're all doing exactly the same and we're all calling ourselves world champions. I mean, there's room for all 4 sports to grow. Matchroom have decided we're taking 9 ball and we're going to grow 9 ball. If somebody else wants to take 10 ball and grow it, go ahead and do it. Matchroom will not be in your way because they're only playing 9 ball. They don't care. They're not going to be in your way. You could end up with your own set of pros that are only playing 10 ball, and Matchroom have got their own set of pros that are only playing 9 ball. If there's enough players, go do it. If you can provide something better than Matchroom are doing, you'll get the players there.
Yeah. And to Matchroom's credit,
nobody needs the WPA. Let's be honest, nobody needs any sanctioning body. If you can create your own, you're golden.
We need Matchroom a heck of a lot more than we need the WPA at this point.
Yes, absolutely.
We've had the WPA for a long time. It did no good.
Exactly.
We're not
WPA have had plenty of opportunity and nothing has happened. And like I said, that we see.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess is there anything else? Oh, I did want to say to be fair to Matchroom, and this seems like something that if it did happen, it would have happened behind the scenes. But I'm also pretty decently plugged in. You are as well. I don't know that I've ever heard of a player Matchroom approach and said, if you play in this event, you cannot play in our events.
No.
I've never heard that ever between any player ever.
No.
Even when things overlapped.
I'll be honest, I hear things I probably shouldn't hear, and I know things I probably shouldn't know. That's not one of them. I've never heard anybody tell me.
We have heard that from the WPA.
That Matchroom have ever said, you ain't in if you play this.
Yes. And that's when there's actually real overlap. I mean, there was the World Cup of Pool last year. The World Cup of Pool was going on top of the European Championships. There's an event that Predator did in Germany. I can't remember the exact name of it, but there was a lot of the top players that were at the World Cup of Pool. But there was also some top players that went to the Predator event instead. And from what I heard, Predator never said a single thing about the Predator players that went to the World Cup of Pool. And as far as I know, Matchroom never said anything to the players that skipped the World Cup of Pool to go play the Predator event. So the two, at least I know there's a lot of animosity between Predator and Matchroom as well. But to be fair to both of them, neither of them, from what I've heard, have ever said that their players could not play. Not that Matchroom has players, but you know what I'm saying. Could not play in somebody else's.
No players, as far as I'm aware, have been threatened with any sort of kickback if they go and play one tournament or the other by either of the two of them. So I mean, and Predator are paying their players to use their products. So, I mean, you know, and they're still not saying you better come and play the 10-ball event, not the Matchroom event. You know, they're saying, look, you go play what you need to play. Go play what you want to play. That's the way it should be.
It's a good form of capitalism. Put out the best event that you could possibly put out, and if it's good enough, the players will come play it without any question.
And this is what we want. We talked about this before when it was the Predator and Matchroom, before the WPA thing all happened. We want Predator to say, oh, I'm going to do something better than Matchroom, and Matchroom say, oh, well, now we're going to lift our game. And if they both keep lifting their game, then imagine what kind of product you have at the end of it, you know?
Pretty close to what we have now, huh?
I think there's only one winner in the end, but okay.
Oh yeah,
as far as our production goes,
I still like
Predator's still putting out 75,000 first prizes and stuff like that. You know, they're pumping money into it. The amount of money that Predator pump into this sport is insane. You know, if you consider, what did I just do there?
You're still here.
I'm sorry. The amount of money that the percentage of what they make in a year that they pump back into the game is just insane. They pump back a higher percentage than anybody else does.
There is zero question in my mind that as far as an event goes, there is not a single entity on earth that has a prayer against Matchroom at this point. Mm-hmm. Most of the bugs that they've had, I mean, you played in the German or the European Open last year, and you had some complaints, right? The matching or the match scheduling wasn't exactly as good as it was. Could have been.
That was the first one. That was the first one they did, the UK Open.
Oh yes, and last year I said.
They addressed it straight away next event. Straight away next event they addressed it.
All of the hiccups that Matchroom tends to have, they're ironed out. But the only thing that I think that Predator has over Matchroom is the display around the players. That the 360 wraparound LED screen. I just think that looks fantastic on screen. I just love the way that looks. That is the one thing I think that Predator has over top of Matchroom. As far as I've played in Predator events, I've never played in a Matchroom event, but I've played in plenty of Predator events. They are not ran as perfectly. The ambiance of the room is not as good. The setup is not as good. Nothing about the setup is on par with Matchroom stuff, especially as a viewer. The viewer, I mean, for the Matchroom, I mean, if you want to get close to a table at a Matchroom event, all you got to do is walk, and you're gonna get table side. Predator events, they have matches in the back far corner that you can't see at all, I mean, you might be 40, 50 feet away from that table, and you can't see the scoreboard. You don't know what the score is unless you do like check on your phone live scoring, and that's a nice feature. But I don't want to have to pull. If I'm trying to watch a match, I don't want to have to pull up my phone to look at the score and go like this. I just want it to be there. Predator has that down. Or sorry, Matchroom has that down. They make every single table accessible and easily accessible. The things that Matchroom does with their events, it's just different.
Yep.
But I do. Yeah, but I do like that. I do like that LED screen. I think it just looks so cool, and the things that you can do with it, you can make a lot of advertisers really happy. It almost turns into maybe a little bit of a gimmicky thing, but I just think I like the way it looks.
Predator do great work. It's just Matchroom just do everything just a little bit better, and it's simple as that. And the thing with Matchroom is when they make mistakes, they make them once, and that's it. Never gets made again, and every single thing. And Emily's on the ball, her team are on the ball. As soon as something happens, it's like it gets put on the list to be rectified next time. Will not happen again. And you can guarantee it will not happen again. Or somebody's losing their head.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about Matchroom is it doesn't seem to matter who's there. Their turnover, it's decently high. I mean, it's very common that at least a face that you see at an event is not going to be there at the next one. They've had a lot of people running their tournaments throughout the years, and like a well-oiled machine every single time. It doesn't matter who's in that role. That team is so dialed into everything. The team has everything done.
They're still in the baby phase as well. So the team has been building and building and building through every event. And new people have been coming in. Once that team gets set, and then it's been running as that same team for a year or 2 years, I mean, it's going to be flawless what they do. I mean, every time I go to the tournament, I meet somebody new from the Matchroom team basically at every tournament. And it's not because somebody's been replaced, it's because they're growing and they just need to bring somebody else into the team, or they need to bring somebody from the office side of it with them to the events because there's just more to be done. But it's all going so quickly, and it's still so very new.
They're fantastic at what they do, though.
They are very good at what they do. And listen,
best of the best.
Yeah. I mean, if Matchroom hadn't taken 9-ball and Predator were doing the events they were doing, we'd be saying these are the best events that we've seen for 20 years. It just so happens that Matchroom has gone ballistic at the same time, so the Predator events are sort of sitting in second place at the moment, where they really deserve a lot of credit because what they've done is also amazing compared to what others have done in the past. It's just
being overshadowed. Yeah,
they've been overshadowed by what Matchroom's done, which is a little bit unfair to Predator, and it's unfair to compare Predator to Matchroom because they're a different entity. They do different things. They have different resources. Let's be honest, the resources Matchroom have and the experience they have, and the goodwill and the connections they have within broadcasting, Predator just don't have that. Predator aren't going to be able to go to Sky Sports and say, "Can you put our events on it?" They just, they don't have that in way that Barry Hearn has.
Yeah, but that doesn't take away from Matchroom. Best of the best of the best.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember back when I think it was 2017 that Matchroom bought the U.S. Open? And there were so many people that just got so angry at the idea that a UK company is going to come over and buy up the US Open. And there were so many haters to Matchroom. It was, and this podcast had a few things to say about it as well. But
there was even people on Facebook that were going so far as to say, "Oh, I can't believe it. The US Open is going to get played in the UK now."
Yeah, that was so stupid. But these are the things that happened. And where are those people now? Are they back under the rock? I don't know. Or did they just like gel back into society and try to act like nothing ever happened?
Well, Matchroom's still got its haters. There's still a group of people out there that have got only negative things to say about what Matchroom do. But you're always going to have that. You can't keep everybody happy.
That list is shrinking quickly. I don't know. That seems like a good conversation to have. What do you think?
Are we done? Anybody got any questions? I'll give you 20 seconds to get your questions on, because I'm having movie night tonight, and we've started watching the full.
What are you moving? Are you watching Barbie? You watching the new Barbie movie?
I actually got conned into going and watching that last week.
What'd you think?
Family. I fell asleep for part of it, and the rest of it made me have bad dreams.
All right.
I will never look at Ryan Gosling. You know, you go into Netflix and there's certain actors that you see there have got a film and you've never heard of it before, but probably quite good. He's in it. I used to think that about Ryan Gosling. I don't think I'll be doing that anymore. Yeah, he let me down massively.
I guess shorty answer is Sam Henderson. Yeah, he's been ghosting us recently. He's still going to be on the podcast periodically.
He started coming on the podcast, and then Nate decided to sponsor him, and since then he's like, I don't need to go on the podcast anymore.
His life kind of fell apart. Yeah, I won't say the things that has happened to him since then, but it's not good. It's not good.
But we can get him on again, because we're going to have to talk to him before he goes to Austria for the World Juniors, aren't we?
I think I'm going to go with him. I think I need to look at dates for that, but I told him if he qualified, I would go with him, and he called my bluff.
When is it?
I don't even know.
I might go.
Yeah, you want to meet there?
Could do. Austria's not far away from me.
We could cuddle. It'd be fun.
I'm not cuddling you, Nate. Why would I? I'm not going all the way to Austria to cuddle you.
Well, fine then. Didn't want to cuddle you anyways. Rude.
That's not what you were like on the VIP couch at Moscone Cup.
Hey. You cuddled me just as much as I cuddled you that day.
I was tired.
It's the 18th through the 22nd of October.
18th to the 22nd of October. Let me just check.
The World 8 Ball is the 17th to the 22nd.
Oh, I'm actually free from work. But I think I'm going on holiday with the family.
If I'm going to go, I'm only going to go through the 18th to the 22nd, though. Although if I'm going all the way to Europe, I really should not be going for 3 days. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Let you know.
Good. Texas Open.
Any other questions? Texas Open. Don't know anything about Texas Open. Every year I say next year I'm going to try and go to the Texas Open, and it never happens.
We don't. We have a special bond. So I'm just kidding. No, I mean the Texas Open. I mean it's like one of the longest. I think it actually is the longest running event in the world, as far as I know. I know that they put an event on during COVID that was basically a shell of itself. A shell of itself, basically to make sure that they maintain that. It's one of the longest running tournaments ever, and it's a good event. It's not a Derby City Classic, but I think it's bigger than a Turning Stone, personally. It's a big event. I mean, it's one of the biggest events that's organic to the U.S. I would say it's definitely behind the U.S. Open. It's definitely behind Derby City Classic, and there's a pretty good argument that it's like the third biggest past that. So it is actually a real event. It's a huge event.
And Fedor will probably win it.
He's got an outside chance. If he eats all of his vegetables and gets a good night's sleep, he's got a chance.
Doesn't sit up until 4 o'clock eating pizzas. It's amazing how much that kid eats, because he's built like that, and he just eats all day long.
Do you not remember being 20 years old?
God, the amount he put, I don't know where he puts it. He must have hollow legs.
You don't remember being 20 years old, Jim?
I didn't eat that much. I drank a lot and smoked a lot back then, so that's probably what it was.
Fair play. All right, let's close it out. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.